The words hit me like a slap across the face, echoing in the quiet dining room where we sat. My daughter-in-law, Romy, leaned forward, her eyes cold as steel, her voice sharp enough to cut through the grief that already weighed me down. "Now that your husband is dead, grieve, pack your bags, and never come back," she said, each word deliberate, like she'd rehearsed it. My son, Wade, sat beside her, his face blank, offering a faint nod as if agreeing to a business deal. I stared at them, my hands trembling on the mahogany table, the same table where my husband, Noel, and I had shared 32 years of laughter, argument, and love. 1 week ago, we'd buried him, and the ache in my chest still made every breath feel heavy. At 71, I thought I had seen enough of life to handle loss, but nothing prepared me for this betrayal from my own family. The dining room felt too big without Noel. His empty chair sat across from me, a silent reminder of the man who'd been my rock. I kept glancing at it, half expecting his warm smile to appear, calming the storm brewing inside me. The funeral had drained me, leaving me hollow, but Romy's words carved out a new kind of pain. "The house was never really yours anyway," she added, her tone dripping with contempt. Wade's smile tightened, but he said nothing, his eyes fixed on his plate. My son, the boy who once clung to me during thunderstorms, now sat like a stranger, siding with his wife of 15 years against his own mother. I tried to steady my voice. "What are you saying, Romy?" My heart pounded, already sensing the answer. She straightened, her posture sharp, like she was delivering a verdict. "This house is too much for you, Myrtle. You're old, alone, and it's expensive to maintain. Wade, and I think you should move somewhere suitable." Her words were polite, but the venom beneath them was clear. Suitable, as if I were a piece of furniture to be stored away. I looked at Wade, searching for the son I'd raised. "Wade, you agree with this?" My voice cracked, betraying the hurt I tried to hide. He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. "Mom, it makes sense. The upkeep's too much. You can't handle it alone." His words stung worse than Romy's. This was our home, where Noel and I had raised him, where every corner held memories of birthday parties, late-night talks, and Noel's quiet humming as he fixed the kitchen sink. "This is my home," I said, my voice shaking. "Your father and I built our life here. We saved for years to buy this place." Romy's eyes narrowed. "Memories don't pay bills, Myrtle. Be practical. A senior community would be better for you. Somewhere with people your age, activities, less hassle." She spoke as if she were doing me a favor, but I saw through her. She wanted me gone, out of their way. Wade finally met my eyes, but there was no warmth, only a flicker of guilt he quickly buried. "We could use the space, Mom," he said softly. "Romy and I are thinking of expanding our family. This house has potential." The truth crashed over me like a cold wave. They didn't just want me out, they wanted my home. The home Noel and I had lovingly restored, room by room, over decades. Romy's voice cut through again, sharp and final. 2 weeks, Myrtle. That's enough time to pack and find somewhere new. 2 weeks to erase 32 years of my life. I looked at Wade, waiting for him to protest, to show some shred of loyalty. But he just nodded again, his indifference cutting deeper than any words. I stood slowly, my legs unsteady, and walked upstairs to the bedroom I'd shared with Noel. His cologne still lingered, his reading glasses untouched on the nightstand from the night his heart gave out. I sat on our bed, staring at my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back was older, her silver hair limp, her eyes dulled by shock. But beneath the grief, something stirred, a spark of determination. Noel had always handled our finances, teaching me to be thorough, to notice details. Tomorrow I'd go to the bank. I'd find out what he'd left behind and who it belonged to. If Wade and Romy thought they could push me out without a fight, they were about to learn I wasn't as helpless as they believed. The next morning, I woke to a house that felt different, quieter, as if it knew I was fighting to keep it. I made coffee, the familiar ritual grounding me as I prepared for the day. Wade and Romy had already been by once, measuring rooms, talking about renovations like I was already gone. I overheard Romy on the phone, scheduling contractors for after the old woman moves out. The words burned, but they also fueled me. I wasn't ready to surrender. The drive to First National Bank took 15 minutes, the same route I'd driven for years, usually with Noelle beside me handling our business while I waited in the car. Now, I wished I'd asked more questions. Helen, the bank manager, greeted me with a gentle smile. Myrtle, I'm so sorry about Noelle. He was such a kind man. Her sympathy was genuine, but I needed answers, not comfort. Thank you, Helen. I need to understand our financial situation. Noelle handled everything, and I'm lost. She nodded, turning to her computer. After a moment, her brows lifted. There are quite a few accounts here, Myrtle. More than I expected. My heart skipped. Had Wade already meddled? Is something wrong? I asked, bracing myself. Not wrong, Helen said, her voice curious. Just interesting. Let's start with your joint checking account. She handed me a statement. The balance was modest, but enough to keep me afloat for months. Relief washed over me. Then she slid another paper across. This is your savings account, also joint. The number was larger, enough for years if I was careful. I exhaled, feeling lighter. Noelle was always good at saving, I said, my voice soft. Helen's frown deepened. There's more, Myrtle. Accounts in your name only. 2 CDs, a money market account, and a trust account from 5 years ago. I blinked, confused. My name only? That can't be right. Noelle never mentioned those. She printed more statements, the numbers making my head spin. These weren't small emergency funds. They were substantial, enough to buy a house, to live comfortably for decades. How is this possible? I asked, my voice trembling. I never signed anything. Helen's tone was gentle. You did, actually. Your signatures are on the paperwork. Noelle likely brought you in for routine updates. Maybe told you they were insurance forms. I stared at the documents, my signature clear as day, dated from years ago. He'd planned this, kept it hidden, even from me. Why would he do this? I whispered. Sometimes clients set up accounts to protect their spouse, Helen said carefully, from family pressures or inheritance disputes. Her words hit hard. Noelle had seen something in our family I hadn't, maybe Romy's influence, Wade's distance. He'd been shielding me. There's one more thing, Helen added. The trust account gets transfers from a business account. Henderson Construction Trust. I thought Noelle sold the business. My breath caught. Wade had told me the sale barely covered debts. Can you tell me about it? I asked. Helen's eyes softened. You should talk to the business accountant, Myrtle. There's more to your finances than you know. I left the bank with a stack of papers, my mind racing. Noelle had built a safety net for me, one Wade and Romy knew nothing about. As I sat in my car, staring at the statements, a text from Wade buzzed through. Mom, Romy found a realtor. We can show the house next week. Hope you're packing. I didn't reply. Let them plan. They had no idea the ground was about to shift beneath them. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen curtains, casting long shadows across the counter where I sat with my coffee. 10 days had passed since Romy's ultimatum at dinner, and the house felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to leave. Wade and Romy had come by twice more, their footsteps echoing as they measured walls and discussed paint colors, as if I were already gone. I'd overheard Romy on the phone again, laughing with a contractor about modernizing this old place once I was out. Each word tightened the knot in my stomach, but it also stoked the fire growing inside me. I wasn't ready to let go, not of the house, not of the life Noelle and I had built. Today, I'd take the next step to understand what he'd left me. I drove to Morrison & Associates, a small accounting office tucked in a strip mall. Noelle had always handled these meetings, saying the paperwork would bore me. Now I saw it differently. He'd been shielding me, not from boredom, but from something else. Margaret Morrison, a woman about my age with sharp eyes and a practical bun, greeted me warmly. "Myrtle, I'm so sorry about Noel. He was a good man, always fair in business." Her kindness eased my nerves, but I needed answers. "Thank you, Margaret." The bank mentioned a business account, Henderson Construction Trust. "Wade said the business was sold years ago. I need to know the truth." Margaret's brows lifted, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "Sold? No, Myrtle. Henderson Construction wasn't sold. It was restructured 5 years ago." She pulled up files on her computer, her fingers quick on the keys. "Noel transferred the company assets into a trust. You're the primary beneficiary." My heart stopped. "I'm the owner?" I asked, my voice barely audible. She nodded, handing me a stack of papers. "The trust owns the company and you own the trust. It's been profitable, steady clients, reliable work." I scanned the profit and loss statements, the numbers staggering. This wasn't a struggling business. It was thriving. "But Noel retired," I said, trying to make sense of it. "He wasn't working." Margaret's voice softened. "He stepped back from daily operations, but kept oversight. Tom Bradley's been running things, doing a fine job, too." Tom, Noel's loyal foreman, had been at the funeral, his grief as raw as mine. "Why did Noel tell me?" I asked, my throat tight. Margaret hesitated, choosing her words. "Noel worried about family pressures. He mentioned Wade's financial troubles, Romy's expensive tastes. He wanted to protect your future." The pieces clicked together. Every time Wade asked for a loan, every time Romy hinted at their struggles, Noel had given them money, but he'd also set aside more for me. "There's something else," Margaret said, sliding another folder across her desk. "These are loan agreements between the business and Wade. Over 5 years, he borrowed $87,000. I opened the folder, my hand shaking. Page after page showed loans, signed by Noel and Wade, with payment schedules Wade had ignored. "Has he repaid any of this?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Margaret's face tightened. "He's significantly behind. The total, with interest, is about $87,000. My son owed my business nearly $90,000 while planning to take my home." "What happens to these loans now?" I asked. "As the trust owner, you can demand payment or restructure the terms," she said. "Also, Wade contacted me last month, saying he'd take over the business since Noel passed. I told him I needed your authorization. He seemed surprised you were involved." The betrayal sank deeper. Wade had been plotting to claim the business, assuming I was too naive to notice. "Margaret, can I keep the business running as is, with Tom in charge?" I asked. She nodded. "Absolutely. Tom's worried about his job. If you keep things steady, he'll stay loyal." I gathered the papers, my mind spinning. "I'd like to meet Tom soon. And please, keep this between us." She agreed, her eyes kind but firm. "Client confidentiality is sacred, Myrtle." As I drove home, my phone buzzed. Romy's text read, "Myrtle, the realtor needs the house cleaned for photos tomorrow. First impressions matter." I ignored it, my hands gripping the wheel. They thought they could erase me, but Noel had left me a fortress, accounts, a business, a future they couldn't touch. At home, I sat in Noel's study, surrounded by his meticulous files. Every document, every transaction was a brick in the wall he'd built to protect me. Tomorrow I'd meet Tom. I'd learn how strong those walls really were. The next morning, Tom Bradley sat across from me at the kitchen table, his calloused hands wrapped around a coffee mug. At 55, he looked worn but strong, a man who'd spent his life building what Noel designed. "Mrs. Henderson, I've been worried since Mr. Noel passed," he said, his voice rough. "Wade came by the job site, talking about evaluating assets and streamlining. It didn't sound good for me or the crew." I poured myself more coffee, steadying my nerves. "What did he say, Tom?" He said the family is in financial trouble, that tough choices are coming. Tom replied, his jaw tight. He wanted a list of contracts, equipment, even the keys to the yard and office. My stomach twisted. Wade was circling, assuming he could take everything. What did you tell him? I asked. Tom met my eyes. That I'd need to hear from the legal owner. Mr. Noel always said to wait for proper instructions if anything happened to him. He never said it'd be Wade. Relief flooded me. Noel had trusted Tom, made him a gatekeeper. Tom, this stays between us, I said, spreading out the trust documents. I own Henderson Construction. Noel put it in my name 5 years ago. Tom's eyes widened as he scanned the papers. Well, I'll be. Mr. Noel was always 3 steps ahead. He paused, a faint smile breaking through. The business is solid, Mrs. Henderson. We've got good clients, steady work. I've kept it running like he wanted. I want you to keep doing that, I said firmly. But I need to know about Wade. Has he been sniffing around the business? Tom's expression darkened. Plenty. He'd show up when Mr. Noel wasn't there, asking about cash flow, client payments. Once he was at the bank right after we deposited a big check. Said it was a coincidence, but he was real curious. My blood ran cold. Wade had been watching, waiting for his chance. Tom, does Wade know how much the business is worth? I asked. He thought for a moment. He knows it's more than he's let on, but not the full picture. Mr. Noel kept business and personal money separate, told Wade the margins were tight, but still helped him out with loans. Tom pulled out a worn notebook. I track everything. Wade's gotten $93,000 over 5 years, called loans, but Mr. Noel never pushed for repayment. Wade acts like it's his. The number hit hard, higher than Margaret's figure. Before I could respond, a car door slammed outside. Wade's Honda Pilot was in the driveway. That's my son, I whispered. Don't mention the business. Tom nodded, gathering the papers. Wade walked in without knocking, his eyes flicking to Tom. Morning, Mom. Didn't expect company. His tone was casual, but his gaze swept the kitchen, already measuring it for sale. Tom stopped by to check on me, I said smoothly. Wade shrugged. Good to see you, Tom. Actually, I need to talk about the business. With Dad gone, we've got to make some changes. He spoke with such confidence, like he already owned everything. My heart raced, but I stayed calm, waiting to see how far he'd go. Wade stood in my kitchen, his hands in his pockets, acting like he owned the place. Tom, we need to talk business, he said, his voice smooth but firm, like he was already in charge. With Dad gone, the family's got to make some tough calls. I'll need a full list of contracts, equipment, and cash flow. Tom's face stayed blank, but his eyes flicked to me for a second. Who's making those calls, Wade? He asked, his tone steady, almost challenging. Wade blinked, caught off guard. Me, obviously. I'm Dad's son. I'm handling his affairs. I sat still, my coffee cup warm in my hands, watching my son try to claim what wasn't his. The nerve of it burned, but I kept my face calm. You got the legal papers to back that up? Tom pressed, his voice quiet but sharp. Wade's jaw tightened, his confidence slipping. What's with the questions, Tom? I'm just trying to sort things out for the family. He turned to me, expecting me to back him up. Mom, tell Tom I'm taking care of Dad's business now. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting the silence stretch. For years, I'd let Wade and Romy push me around, dismissing me like I didn't matter. Not today. Tom's right to ask, Wade, I said, my voice even. Your father was big on doing things properly. Legal papers matter. Wade stared at me, his mouth open, like he couldn't believe I'd spoken up. Mom, what are you talking about? This is Dad's business. I'm his heir. I set my cup down, my hand steady for the first time in days. We'll see about that, I said softly. Your father was careful. Let's make sure everything's done right. Wade's face reddened, a mix of anger and confusion. He wasn't used to me pushing back. Tom stood, tucking his notebook away. I'll need to see proper documents, Wade. That's how Mr. Noel ran things. He nodded to me. Mrs. Henderson, I'll check in later. System later. As he left, I felt a spark of strength I hadn't known I had. Wade waited until the door closed before turning on me. What was that, Mom? Why are you making this hard? His voice was sharp, like I was the one betraying him. I looked at him, my son, who'd grown so distant I barely recognized him. I'm not making anything hard, Wade. I'm just asking for what's right. He shook his head, muttering something about me being stubborn, then stormed out, slamming the door. The house went quiet again, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like mine. That afternoon, I sat in Noel's study, the smell of his old books and papers wrapping around me like a hug. I opened the files Margaret had given me, reading through the trust documents again. Every page was proof of Noel's love, his quiet way of making sure I'd be okay. He'd seen this coming. Wade's greed, Romy's control. He'd built a wall to protect me, and I was just starting to see how strong it was. My phone buzzed with another text from Romy. Myrtle, the photographer's coming tomorrow. House better be spotless. I ignored it, my fingers tracing Noel's signature on the trust papers. Let them plan their photo shoot. They didn't know the truth yet. The next morning, I woke early, the house still dark. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, thinking about Noel. He'd always been the one to handle the big decisions, but he'd taught me to be smart, to pay attention. I'd been too trusting, too willing to let Wade and Romy call the shots. Not anymore. I called Margaret to set up another meeting. I want to meet Tom again, I told her. And I need to know every detail about the business, every contract, every dollar. She didn't hesitate. I'll arrange it for tomorrow. And Myrtle, you're doing the right thing. The meeting with Tom was set for a small diner near the construction yard. I got there early, picking a booth in the back where we could talk privately. Tom walked in, his work boots scuffing the floor, his face tired but open. Mrs. Henderson, I'm glad you called, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. I've been keeping things running, but Wade's been pushing. He called yesterday, asking for bank account access. My stomach dropped. What did you tell him? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Same as before. Need proper papers, Tom said. He didn't like that. Got real mad, said he'd sort it out with you. I nodded, my mind racing. Wade was moving fast, thinking he could take over before I figured things out. Tom, tell me about the business, I said. How's it really doing? He leaned forward, his voice low. It's strong. We've got contracts lined up for the next 2 years, small jobs, steady pay. Mr. Noel set it up that way, kept us out of risky projects. Profits are good, and the crew's loyal. I pulled out the loan documents. What about these? Wade's debts. Tom's face tightened. Mr. Noel was too soft on him. Gave him money every time he asked, called it loans, but never pushed for repayment. Wade thinks it's free cash. I nodded, the numbers burning in my mind. $93,000 Tom had tracked, more than Margaret's record showed. Can we keep the business going without Wade knowing I'm in charge? I asked. Tom grinned just a little. We can. Mr. Noel taught me how to keep things quiet. You say the word, I'll run it like always. I felt a weight lift. Tom was loyal, not just to Noel, but to me. Do it, I said. And don't tell Wade anything. As we talked, I felt more like the woman Noel had loved, strong, capable, not the helpless widow Romy thought I was. When I got home, another text from Wade was waiting. Mom, we need to talk. Romy and I are coming over tomorrow. This can't wait. I didn't reply. Let them come. I was ready to face them, armed with the truth Noel had left me. The next morning, I dressed carefully, choosing a green sweater Noel always liked. If this was going to be a fight, I wanted to feel like myself. Wade and Romy arrived at 8 o'clock, their faces tight with anger. Romy marched in first, her heels loud on the hardwood floor. "Myrtle, what's going on?" she demanded, her purse clutched tight. "Tom's refusing to give Wade business info." "What did you tell him?" Wade stood behind her, his arms crossed, waiting for me to cave like I always had. I sat in Noel's armchair, the one he'd read in every night. "I told Tom to follow the rules," I said calmly. "Your father was clear about how things should be handled." Wade stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Mom, stop playing games. I'm Dad's heir. The business is mine to manage." I looked at him, my son, who'd let Romy turn him against me. "That's not true, Wade," I said, my voice steady. I reached for the folder on the table, the trust documents inside. "Your father put the business in a trust 5 years ago. I'm the owner." The room went silent. Romy grabbed the papers, her hands shaking as she read. Wade's face paled, his confidence crumbling. "This can't be right," he whispered. "Dad said the business was barely breaking even." I handed him the financial statements. "It's been profitable for years. And you've been borrowing from it, $87,000, Wade. Loans you never paid back." Romy's eyes widened, her voice shrill. "Loans? Wade, you said those were gifts." "They were gifts." Wade snapped, but he sounded unsure. "Dad never asked for payments." I shook my head. "He did, Wade. Every loan was documented. Margaret has the records." Romy's face twisted with panic. "This doesn't change the house. That's still Wade's." I smiled just a little. "We'll see about that." Romy's voice shook with fury, her eyes blazing as she clutched the trust documents. "You're lying, Myrtle. You tricked Noel into signing this." Her accusation stung, but I stayed calm, sitting in Noel's armchair, the weight of his love steadying me. "No, Romy," I said softly. "Your father planned this years ago. He knew what he was doing." Wade stared at the financial statements, his hands trembling. "Why didn't Dad tell me?" he muttered, more to himself than to me. The hurt in his voice almost softened me, but then I remembered his indifference at dinner, his nod to Romy's cruel words. I pulled out another set of papers, the ones I'd found in Noel's study last night. "There's more, Wade," I said, my voice firm. "Your father took out a home equity loan 18 months ago. $350,000. It's in the trust, my trust." Romy's face went white, her purse slipping to the floor. "A mortgage? You're saying the house isn't paid off?" I nodded, sliding the loan documents across the coffee table. Noel didn't need anyone's signature. He was the sole owner. The money went to the trust for me. Wade sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. Why would he do this? Why hide it? His voice cracked, and for a moment I saw the boy who used to run to me when he was scared. But that boy was gone, replaced by a man who'd planned to take everything I had. "He was protecting me," I said, my throat tight, "from being pushed out of my own home, from people who saw me as a problem to get rid of." Romy spun toward me, her voice sharp. "You're twisting this. You made him do this, played the poor widow to steal everything." Her words cut deep, but I didn't flinch. "Noel made these choices 5 years ago, Romy. He saw how you and Wade treated me, pushing me out of family dinners, holidays, my own son's life. He made sure I'd be okay, no matter what." Wade looked up, his eyes wet. "Mom, we didn't mean it like that. We just, the house, the business, it's all we have." I shook my head. "No, Wade. It's what I have. You've had plenty, $87,000 in loans you never paid back. And you still thought you could take my home." Romy's voice rose, desperate. "The house is still Wade's. The will says so." I met her gaze. "The will leaves the house to the family, yes, but with a $350,000 loan. Good luck selling it without my say-so." The room felt heavy, the air thick in their shock. Wade's voice was barely a whisper. "Mom, can't we work this out? This is our family home." I stood, smoothing my sweater, feeling stronger than I had in years. It's my home, Wade, and I'm not going anywhere. But you two? You've got 2 weeks to find somewhere else. Romy's face twisted with rage. This isn't over, Myrtle. We'll fight this. We'll get a lawyer. I nodded, calm. Go ahead. Everything's legal. Margaret's already sent copies to my attorney. They left without another word, the door slamming behind them. I sat back down, my heart pounding but steady. The house was quiet again, but it felt different now, like it was truly mine. I walked to Noel's study, running my fingers over his desk, his files, his life's work. He'd known this day would come, known Wade and Romy would try to take everything, and he'd made sure I'd have the strength to fight back, not just with money, but with truth. The next day, I met Margaret again at her office. She greeted me with a small smile. You're looking stronger, Myrtle. I nodded, feeling it. I need to know my options with Wade's loans. Can I demand payment? She pulled up the files. As the trust owner, you can call in the full amount or set a payment plan. With interest, it's $87,000, but Tom mentioned $93,000. We'll need to cross-check. I frowned. Why the difference? Margaret's eyes narrowed. Could be additional loans Noel didn't file formally. I'll dig deeper. I left her office with a plan to meet Tom again. He was waiting at the construction yard, surrounded by the hum of saws and the smell of sawdust. Mrs. Henderson, he said, wiping his hands on his jeans. I checked my records. The extra $6,000. Cash payments Noel gave Wade off the books. He didn't want you to know, said it'd worry you. My heart ached. Even in his kindness, Noel had been protecting me, hiding Wade's greed. Tom, can the business cover the mortgage payments? I asked. He nodded. Easily. We've got steady contracts and the profits are solid. You don't need to worry. I trusted him, not just because Noel had, but because his eyes held the same honesty I'd seen in my husband. Keep it running, I said. And if Wade calls, tell him to talk to me. Tom grinned. You got it, ma'am. When I got home, another text from Romy. Myrtle, we're meeting our lawyer tomorrow. You can't do this to us. I didn't reply. Let them try. Noel's documents were ironclad, and I had Margaret and Tom on my side. That night, I sat in the living room, looking at a photo of Noel and me from our 30th anniversary. His smile was warm, his arm around me, promising he'd always take care of me. And he had even now. The grief was still there, sharp and heavy, but so was something new, a fire I hadn't felt in years, a belief that I could stand up for myself. The morning after Romy and Wade stormed out, I woke to the sound of birds outside my window, their chirps a small comfort in the quiet house. I made coffee, the familiar routine grounding me as I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the trust documents spread out before me. Noel's handwriting on a sticky note caught my eye, for Myrtle always. My throat tightened. Even now he was with me, his love woven into every careful plan he'd made. But the hurt from Wade's betrayal lingered, sharp and raw, like a wound that wouldn't close. I'd raised him, loved him, and now he saw me as an obstacle to his plans. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. A text from Wade. Mom, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. Can we meet today? I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keys. Part of me wanted to hear him out, to believe he could still be the son I remembered. But another part, the one Noel had strengthened with his foresight, told me to stay firm. I typed back, not today, Wade. I need time. I hit send and set the phone down, my heart heavy but resolute. I drove to the diner to meet Tom again, needing his steady presence to keep me grounded. He was already there, sipping coffee, his work boots tapping lightly on the floor. Mrs. Henderson, he said, his voice warm but serious. Wade called again last night. Wanted to know why I'm being difficult. I told him to talk to you. I nodded, a small smile tugging at my lips. Tom's loyalty felt like a gift, a reminder that not everyone saw me as disposable. Thanks, Tom said. What's the latest with the business? He leaned forward, his hands clasped around his mug. We're solid. Just signed a new contract for a community center remodel. Good money. 6 months' work. The crew's happy and clients trust us. His pride in the work was clear, and it warmed me to know Noel's legacy was in good hands. And Wade? I asked, my voice quieter. Tom's face darkened. He's been sniffing around again. Showed up at the yard yesterday, asking about equipment values. I shut him down, said I'd only talk to the owner. I exhaled, relieved but angry. Wade wasn't giving up. Can you keep things running without him knowing I'm in charge? I asked. He nodded, his eyes steady. Done it for years. Mr. Noel taught me how to keep things tight. Wade won't get a thing unless you say so. I trusted him completely now, not just because of Noel, but because he treated me like I mattered. Keep it that way, I said, and let me know if he tries anything else. Back home, I found a voicemail from Margaret. Myrtle, I've gone through the records. The $6,000 difference in Wade's loans? Cash withdrawals Noel made for him, undocumented. I've got receipts, though. Call me. I called her back, my hands shaking as I dialed. Margaret, how did I miss this? I asked when she picked up. Her voice was gentle. Noel didn't want you to worry. He'd give Wade cash, call it a favor, but he kept receipts in case it ever mattered. He was always looking out for you. I hung up, my chest tight with gratitude and grief. Noel had known Wade's weaknesses, seen Romy's influence, and still tried to help them while protecting me. I walked to his study, opening a drawer I hadn't touched since his death. Inside was a small notebook, his handwriting neat and precise. It listed every cash payment to Wade, dates and amounts, with a note. For Wade's future, but Myrtle's security comes first. Tears stung my eyes. He'd loved us both, but he'd chosen me when it counted. The doorbell rang, startling me. I wiped my face and opened the door to find Wade alone, his face drawn, his eyes red. Mom, can we talk? He asked, his voice softer than I'd heard in years. I hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in, I said, leading him to the living room. He sat on the couch, looking smaller than I remembered. I didn't know about the trust, he said, his hands clasped tight. I thought Dad left everything to me. I sat across from him, my heart torn between love and anger. You thought you could take my home, Wade. You and Romy told me to pack and leave. He winced, looking away. Romy pushed for that. She said the house was too big for you, that we needed it more. I went along with it. His honesty hurt, but it wasn't enough. You nodded when she told me to grieve and go, I said, my voice shaking. You didn't even look at me. He rubbed his face, his voice breaking. I'm sorry, Mom. I was wrong. Can we fix this? I don't want to lose you. I wanted to believe him, but the papers on my table, the loans, the trust, the mortgage, told a different story. You owe the business $93,000, Wade, I said quietly. You took from your father, thinking it was free. Now it's my business, and those debts are real. His eyes widened. $93,000? Mom, I can't pay that. You'll have to, I said, my voice firm. The business is mine, and I'm not letting it go. Neither is the house. He stood, pacing, his hands in his hair. Romy's talking to a lawyer. She thinks we can fight this. I nodded, calm. Let her try. Your father's plans are solid. My lawyers already got everything. Wade stopped, looking at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're different, Mom, he said softly. Stronger. I stood, meeting his gaze. I had to be, Wade. You and Romy left me no choice. He left without another word, his shoulders slumped. As the door closed, I felt a mix of sadness and power. Noel had given me more than money. He'd given me the strength to stand up to my own son. That night, I sat in the kitchen, the house quiet around me, and promised myself I'd keep fighting for Noel, for me, for the life we'd built. The days after Wade's visit felt like walking on a tightrope, balancing grief and determination. I woke each morning to the quiet of the house, the absence of Noel's soft humming still a fresh ache. But the documents on the kitchen table, trust papers, loan records, mortgage details, reminded me I wasn't alone. Noel's love was in every signature, every careful plan to keep me safe. I sipped my coffee, staring at a photo of us from a summer picnic years ago, his arm around me, both of us laughing. That memory fueled me, but so did the sting of Wade's betrayal, his assumption that he could erase me from my own life. My phone buzzed with a new text from Romy. "Myrtle, our lawyer, says we have a case. You'll hear from us soon." The words were meant to scare me, but they only sharpened my resolve. I called Margaret right away. "Romy's talking about a lawsuit," I said, my voice steady. Margaret's tone was calm but firm. "Let them try, Myrtle. Noel's documents are airtight. Your lawyer, James Patterson, has everything he needs. I'll send him the extra receipts for Wade's cash payments." I thanked her, feeling a rush of gratitude for her loyalty and Noel's foresight. I met James at his office later that day, a small space filled with books and the smell of old coffee. He was a precise man, always on time, his gray suit as neat as his thoughts. "Myrtle, good to see you," he said, motioning to a chair. Margaret sent the documents. The trust, the loans, the mortgage, all legal, all in your favor. I nodded, my hands clasped tight. Wade and Romy are threatening to fight. Can they win? James leaned back, his eyes steady. They can try, but they won't. Noel was thorough. The trust is yours, and Wade's debts are documented. If they push, they'll only dig themselves deeper. I exhaled, relief mixing with the weight of what was coming. "What about the house?" I asked. "They think it's theirs." James smiled just a little. "The will says family, but the mortgage complicates things. You control the trust, which holds the loan. They can't sell without your approval." His words were a lifeline, proof that Noel had thought of everything. "What's next?" I asked. James handed me a folder. "We wait for their move. If they sue, we counter with the loan defaults. Wade owes $93,000, and we can enforce it." Back home, I found a letter in the mailbox, Wade's handwriting on the envelope. My heart skipped as I opened it. "Mom, I'm sorry for how this went. I didn't mean to hurt you. Romy's pushing the lawyer, but I just want to fix things. Can we talk?" The words sounded sincere, but they felt hollow after everything. I set the letter aside, unsure if I could trust him. The boy I'd raised was gone, replaced by someone who'd let Romy's greed guide him. Still, a small part of me hoped he meant it, hoped we could find a way back. The next morning, Tom called. "Mrs. Henderson, we've got a problem," he said, his voice tense. Wade showed up at the yard again, demanding access to the office. Said he's got a lawyer checking the business records. My stomach twisted, but I kept my voice calm. "What did you do?" Tom chuckled, a rough sound. "Told him to take it up with the owner. He got mad, said you're not fit to run a business. I shut him down, said I only answer to you." I smiled, grateful for his loyalty. "Keep doing that, Tom, and let me know if he comes back." I spent the afternoon in Noel's study, going through his files again. Every note, every receipt, told a story of his love and his fear for me. He'd known Wade's weaknesses, seen how Romy's demands had changed him. A small journal caught my eye, tucked in a drawer. Inside, Noel had written, "Wade's lost his way, but Myrtle's my heart. I'll make sure she's never left with nothing." Tears fell as I read, my fingers tracing his words. He'd seen this coming, planned for it, and trusted me to carry on. The doorbell rang, pulling me back. It was Wade again, alone, his face tired and drawn. "Mom, please," he said as I opened the door. "I don't want to fight. Romy's wrong about the lawyer. I just want to keep the family together." I let him in, but kept my distance, sitting across from him in the living room. "Wade, you told me to leave my home," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "You took $93,000 and acted like it was nothing. How do I trust you now?" He looked down, his hand shaking. I messed up, Mom. Romy said we needed the house, the business to get ahead. I believed her. But I see it now, I hurt you. His voice broke, and for a moment I saw my little boy, scared and sorry. But I couldn't let that soften me. You did hurt me, I said. And those debts? They're real. You'll pay them back, Wade, because that's what's right. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I'll try, Mom. I'll talk to Romy. We'll figure it out. After he left, I sat alone, the house quiet around me. I wanted to believe him, but trust was hard to rebuild. Noel had given me the tools to stand strong, and I wouldn't let him down. That night I called James. Wade says he wants to fix things, I told him. But Romy's still pushing the lawsuit. James's voice was steady. Let them try, Myrtle. We're ready. If Wade's serious, he'll start by paying what he owes. I hung up, feeling the weight of my new reality. I wasn't just fighting for money or a house. I was fighting for myself, for the life Noel wanted me to have. The weeks that followed felt like a storm brewing, quiet but heavy with tension. Each morning, I woke to the familiar creak of the house, a sound that once brought comfort but now reminded me of the fight ahead. Noel's absence was a constant ache, but his planning gave me strength. I kept his journal on the kitchen table, open to that note, Myrtle's my heart. It was my anchor, a reminder of why I was standing my ground. Wade's letter still sat unanswered in a drawer. His words had stirred hope. But I couldn't shake the memory of his nod at Romy's cruel demand for me to leave. My phone buzzed with a new message from Romy. Myrtle, our lawyer's filing papers tomorrow. You can't keep what's not yours. Her words were sharp, meant to cut, but they only made me more determined. I called James immediately. They're moving forward with a lawsuit, I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. James didn't flinch. Good. Let them. We've got every document, trust papers, loan records, mortgage details. They're walking into a losing battle. His confidence eased my nerves, but I knew this fight would test me. I met Tom at the diner again, needing to check on the business. He slid into the booth, his face tired but resolute. Mrs. Henderson, Wade's been calling the crew, asking questions about contracts, he said, his voice low. He's trying to figure out what the business is worth. My heart sank, but I kept my face calm. What did you tell them? I asked. Tom grinned, a spark in his eyes. Told everyone to say nothing. They're loyal to Mr. Noel and to you. We're keeping things tight, like you asked. I nodded, grateful for his loyalty. How's the business doing? I asked. Tom leaned forward, his voice steady. Better than ever. The community center job's ahead of schedule, and we've got 2 new clients lined up. The profits will cover the mortgage, and then some. His words were a lifeline, proof that Noel's legacy was strong. And Wade? I asked. Tom's face darkened. He showed up at the bank yesterday, asking about the business account. The teller shut him down, said only you can access it. Relief mixed with anger. Wade was relentless, but so was I. Keep him out, Tom, I said, and let me know if he tries anything else. Tom nodded, his eyes serious. You've got my word, ma'am. Mr. Noel trusted you with this, and so do I. As I drove home, I felt a surge of pride. The business wasn't just money, it was Noel's gift to me, a way to stand tall when others tried to push me down. That afternoon, Margaret called with an update. Myrtle, I found more records, she said, her voice careful. Noel set up a separate savings account 3 years ago, in your name only. It's got $50,000 tied to the trust. He never told anyone. My breath caught. Another secret, another layer of protection. Why didn't he tell me? I asked, my voice shaking. Margaret's tone softened. He wanted you to have options, Myrtle. He knew things with Wade and Romy weren't right. This was his way of making sure you'd always be okay. I hung up, my eyes stinging with tears. Noel had seen the cracks in our family long before I did. I walked to his study, pulling out his journal again. A new entry caught my eye. If Wade pushes too far, Myrtle will need to know her strength. I've given her the tools. I closed the journal, my heart full of love and resolve. Noel had believed in me, even when I hadn't believed in myself. I wouldn't let him down. The doorbell rang and my stomach tightened. It was Wade, alone again, his face pale and drawn. "Mom, please," he said as I opened the door. "I don't want to fight. Romy's pushing the lawsuit, but I don't want it. I want to make this right." I let him in, sitting across from him in the living room. "Wade, you hurt me," I said, my voice steady. "You took money, planned to take my home. Words aren't enough." He looked down, his hands shaking. "I know I messed up. Romy's got me all twisted up, but I see it now. I owe you that money, $93,000. I'll pay it back, I swear." His eyes were wet, but I stayed firm. "You will, Wade," I said, "because it's not just money. It's about respect." He nodded, wiping his face. "I'm trying, Mom. I'm getting a second job. I'll talk Romy down." I wanted to believe him, but trust was a long road. "Show me with actions," I said. "Start paying what you owe." He left, his steps heavy. I sat alone, the house quiet around me. I wanted to believe him, but trust was hard to rebuild. Noel had given me the tools to stand strong, and I wouldn't let him down. That night I called James. "Wade says he wants to fix things," I told him, "but Romy's still fighting." James's voice was calm. "We're ready, Myrtle. If Wade's serious, he'll start paying. If not, we'll enforce the loans." I hung up, feeling the weight of my new life. I wasn't just a widow. I was a woman standing up for what was hers, and no one could take that away. The days dragged on, each one heavy with the weight of waiting. The house felt like a fortress now, its walls holding Noel's love and my newfound strength. I woke early, the morning light soft through the kitchen window, and made coffee, the smell grounding me as I sat with Noel's journal. His words, "Myrtle's my heart," were a quiet promise that kept me going. But the silence from Wade and Romy was loud, like the calm before a storm. I knew they were planning something, and the thought made my stomach twist, even as I held tight to the truth Noel had left me. My phone buzzed, a new text from Romy. "Myrtle, you'll get papers from our lawyer today. You can't win this." Her words were sharp, like a knife aimed at my heart, but I wasn't scared anymore. I called James right away. "They're serving papers," I said, my voice calm despite the knot in my chest. James's tone was steady like always. "We're ready, Myrtle. Their case is weak. Your trust is solid, and Wade's debts are clear. I'll handle the response." I thanked him, feeling a flicker of relief, but the fight was far from over. I drove to the construction yard to meet Tom, needing to see the business that was now mine. The air smelled of sawdust and paint, and the sound of hammers felt alive, like Noel's heartbeat still echoed here. Tom greeted me with a nod, his work boots dusty from the morning's work. "Mrs. Henderson, good to see you," he said, his voice warm but tired. "Wade called again, asking for client lists. I told him to talk to you." I smiled, grateful for his loyalty. "What's he up to now?" I asked, my heart sinking. Tom wiped his brow, his face serious. "He's been talking to one of our smaller clients, saying he's taking over." I set them straight, showed them the trust papers. "They're sticking with us." My chest tightened with anger, but also pride. The business was strong, and Tom was holding it together. "How's everything else?" I asked. He grinned, a spark in his eyes. "We're ahead on the community center. Got a new job lined up for a school renovation. The crew's solid, and they're all behind you." His words warmed me, like a hug from Noel himself. "Can we keep Wade out completely?" I asked. Tom nodded. "Already done. Changed the locks on the office and updated the bank access. Only you and I can get in now." I exhaled, feeling safer. "Thank you, Tom," I said, my voice soft. "Noel would be proud of you." He looked down, his cheeks red. "He'd be prouder of you, ma'am. You're stepping up, just like he knew you would." Back home, I found a thick envelope in the mailbox, legal papers from Romy and Wade's lawyer. I opened it, my hand steady, and skimmed the pages. They were claiming the trust was invalid, saying Noel wasn't in his right mind when he signed it. The accusation hurt, like a slap to his memory, but I knew it was a lie. Noel had been sharp, planning every detail to protect me. I called James, reading him the key points. "It's nonsense," he said. "We'll counter with the trust's history and Noel's mental health records. They've got nothing." I sat in Noel's study, the papers spread out, his journal open beside me. A new entry caught my eye. "If Wade pushes too far, Myrtle will need to know her strength. I've given her the tools." Tears stung my eyes. Noel had believed in me, even when I hadn't believed in myself. I closed the journal, my heart full of love and resolve. I wouldn't let him down. The doorbell rang and my heart skipped. It was Wade, alone, his face worn and tired. "Mom, I need to talk," he said, his voice low. I let him in, sitting across from him in the living room. "Romy's pushing this lawsuit," he said, his hand shaking. "But I don't want it. I'm trying to fix things." I studied him, searching for the boy I'd raised. "Wade, you hurt me," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "You took money, planned to take my home. How do I believe you now?" He looked down, his voice breaking. "I was wrong, Mom. Romy's got me all mixed up, but I see it now. I started a second job, night shifts at a warehouse. I'll pay back the $93,000, bit by bit." His eyes were wet, and for a moment I saw my son again, scared and trying. "That's a start," I said, my voice soft but firm. "But it's not just money, Wade. It's about respect. You let Romy push me out of my own life." He nodded, wiping his face. "I know. I'm trying to fix it. I'll talk to her, get her to drop the lawsuit." I wanted to believe him, but trust was hard. "Show me, Wade," I said. "Pay what you owe. Stop Romy's games. Then we'll talk." He stood, his shoulders heavy. "I will, Mom. I promise." He left, and I sat alone, the house quiet but strong around me. Noel had given me the tools to fight, but also the heart to hope. I wasn't just fighting for the house or the business. I was fighting for what was right, for the life Noel wanted me to live. The morning sun spilled through the kitchen window, warming the table where I sat with my coffee. The house was quiet, but it felt alive, like Noel's spirit lingered in every corner, cheering me on. His journal lay open, his words a steady hand on my shoulder. "Myrtle's my heart." I traced the letters, my chest tight with love and loss. The fight with Wade and Romy was wearing me down, but I wasn't giving up. Their lawyers' papers sat in a neat stack, a threat I refused to fear. Noel had built me a shield, and I was learning to wield it. My phone buzzed, breaking the quiet. A text from Wade. "Mom, I got Romy to hold off on the lawsuit. Can we talk?" "I'm trying." My heart tugged, wanting to believe him, but the memory of his silence at that awful dinner kept me cautious. I typed back, "Show me, Wade. Start paying what you owe. Then we'll talk." I hit send, my hand steady but my heart heavy. He was my son, but he'd hurt me, and trust wasn't something I could just give back. I drove to James's office, needing to know where we stood. He greeted me with a nod, his desk cluttered with papers but his eyes sharp. "Myrtle, their lawyer's fishing," he said, sliding a document across. "They're claiming undue influence, saying Noel wasn't himself when he signed the trust. It's weak. We've got his medical records, witness statements from Margaret and Tom. They don't have a leg to stand on." I nodded, relief washing over me. "What about Wade's debts?" I asked. James's face hardened. "We can demand the full $93,000 now, or give him a payment plan if you're feeling generous." I thought of Wade's tired eyes, his promise to try. "A plan," I said, "but he has to stick to it." James nodded, jotting a note. "I'll draft a proposal, $500 a month, starting next week. If he misses a payment, we enforce the full amount." I agreed, feeling a mix of hope and caution. I wanted Wade to step up, but I wasn't naive anymore. "And the house?" I asked. James smiled. "Yours, Myrtle. The trust controls the mortgage. They can't touch it without you. Back home, I found a small package in the mailbox, no return address. Inside was a photo of Noelle and me, taken at Wade's high school graduation. We were smiling, Noelle's arm around me, Wade grinning between us. A note was tucked inside, in Wade's handwriting. Found this in storage. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm trying. Tears stung my eyes, the memory of that day so vivid. Wade so proud, Noelle beaming. I set the photo on the mantel, my heart torn. Was this his way of reaching out, or just another way to soften me? I called Tom to check on the business, needing his steady voice. He answered from the yard, the sound of drills in the background. Mrs. Henderson, we're good, he said, his tone warm. The school job's confirmed, and the crew's working hard. Wade tried calling again, but I told him to talk to you. My stomach tightened. What did he want? I asked. Tom paused, said he's got a buyer for some equipment. I said, no way, not without your say-so. I exhaled, grateful. Good. Keep him out, Tom. The business is ours. He chuckled. Ours it is, ma'am. The crew's asking about you. Want to know if you'll visit the site. The thought warmed me. I will, I said. Next week. I hung up, feeling stronger. The business wasn't just money. It was Noelle's legacy and now mine. I wasn't just holding it for myself. I was holding it for the crew, for Tom, for the life Noelle built. That evening, the doorbell rang. My heart jumped, expecting Wade. But it was Sarah, my neighbor, holding a plate of cookies. Myrtle, you doing okay? She asked, her eyes kind. I invited her in, and we sat in the living room, the photo of Noelle and Wade on the mantel catching her eye. Family's tough sometimes, she said softly. Heard from my daughter about Wade and Romy. They're telling folks you're stealing from them. My chest ached, but I shook my head. They're wrong, Sarah. Noelle left everything to me, fair and square. They just don't like it. She squeezed my hand. You're stronger than they think, Myrtle. Don't let them push you. Her words felt like a hug, a reminder that I wasn't alone. After she left, I sat by the photo, my fingers tracing Noelle's face. You knew I could do this, I whispered. I'm trying, Noelle. The house felt warm, like he was listening. I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for us, for the life we'd built, for the truth he'd trusted me to protect. The air in the house felt lighter that morning, like the weight of the past weeks had finally started to lift. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, Noelle's journal open to his last entry. Myrtle's my heart. His words were my strength, a reminder that I wasn't just fighting for a house or a business, but for the life he'd wanted for me. The photo Wade sent sat on the mantel, a bittersweet reminder of the family we'd once been. I wanted to believe he was trying, but I'd learned to trust actions over words. Today, I'd see if Wade could keep his promise. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Myrtle, good news. Romy's lawyer backed off. Wade's first payment of $500 came through. My heart lifted a small spark of hope. Wade was trying, at least a little. I called James, my voice steady. What does this mean for the lawsuit? I asked. He chuckled softly. It's done. They know they can't win. Wade's payment shows he's accepting the debt. You're in the clear. Relief washed over me, but I wasn't ready to celebrate yet. And the house? I asked. Still yours, James said. The trust holds the mortgage. No one can touch it. I hung up, my hands shaking with gratitude. Noelle's planning had held strong, and I'd stood my ground. I drove to the construction yard to see Tom, wanting to share the news. The yard was busy, the crew hauling lumber, their laughter mixing with the hum of saws. Tom met me at the gate, his face breaking into a grin. Mrs. Henderson, you look happy, he said, wiping dust from his hands. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The lawsuit's over, Tom. Wade paid the first $500. We're keeping the business. His eyes lit up. That's great news, ma'am. The crew'll be thrilled. They've been asking about you. I followed him to the community center site, where the workers greeted me with nods and smiles. One, a young man named Carlos, shook my hand. "Mr. Noel was good to us," he said. "We're glad you're keeping things going." Their warmth filled a hole in my heart, like I was part of something bigger than myself. "I'm keeping it for him," I said, my voice catching. "And for all of you." Back home, I found Wade waiting on the porch, his face nervous but open. "Mom," he said, standing as I approached, "I paid the first $500. I'm working nights now, and I'll keep it up." I studied him, searching for the boy I'd raised. His eyes were tired but honest. "That's a start, Wade," I said, my voice soft but firm. "But it's a long road. You hurt me, and that doesn't just go away." He nodded, looking down. "I know. She's not happy, but I told her no more lawyers. I want to fix this." I let him in, and we sat in the living room, the photo on the mantel watching us. "Why'd you send that picture?" I asked, my voice quiet. He swallowed hard. "I found it packing up some stuff. It reminded me of when things were good. I want that again, Mom." My heart ached, but I kept my guard up. "Then keep paying what you owe," I said. "And respect me, Wade. Not just with money, but with how you treat me." He nodded, his voice breaking. "I will. I'm sorry for everything." After he left, I sat alone, the house quiet but warm. I walked to the mantel, touching the photo, Noel's smile steadying me. "I did it," I whispered. "I kept our home." The grief was still there, but so was pride. I'd faced my son's betrayal, Romy's cruelty, and come out stronger. Noel had given me the tools, but I'd found the courage to use them. I wasn't just a widow. I was a woman who'd fought for her life and won. That night, I visited Sarah, my neighbor, and told her everything. She listened, her eyes kind, and squeezed my hand. "You showed them Myrtle," she said. "Noel would be so proud." I smiled, feeling his presence. "He gave me what I needed," I said, "but I had to choose to fight." The lesson was clear. Strength isn't just given, it's built, one hard choice at a time. I'd learned to stand up, not just for my home, but for myself, and that was a legacy worth keeping. Moral lesson. True strength comes from facing betrayal with courage and holding fast to what's right, even when it's hard. Trust in yourself, and the love of those who believe in you can carry you through any storm.